What's up, everybody? Nicholas Kuzmich here from nicholaskuzmich.com, and in this video and in this training, I want to reveal to you the importance of bonding, particularly if you are going to be doing ads or any sort of communication for that matter on the social channels, because social channels operate, very differently than other channels. Before we begin though, if you'd like me to be your corner man, if you want someone to kind of look over your shoulder to eliminate all the thinking out of your business so you can focus on what you do best, which is the implementation or the doing, and you just want somebody to give you like a 30, 60, or a 90-day roadmap on how you can execute things to get even better results, I invite you to personally work with me at www.workwithnick.com, workwithnic.com. Go there, fill out a brief form, we'll hop on a call to see if we have a good fit, and I'll show you exactly how I can do just that for your business. So here is the reality, right? We all know that we end up transacting with people that we what? Know, like, and trust. And out of all of those three, and this is a little bit of a formula, right? First, they go from not knowing us to knowing us, and this is through exposure, right? Then they go from not liking us to liking us, and that doesn't mean I don't like that guy and now I like that guy. What liking actually means is they can feel like they are like us or that we are like them. It's a likeness kind of situation. So I don't know them to I know them, from I don't like them, I don't feel like them, to I do feel like-minded with them, and then I don't trust them to I do trust them. And those are kind of three separate processes, but we can tackle them all at the same time, right? But here's the truth. We know that we buy from people and transact with people that we know, like, and trust, which is true, but out of those three, what would you say would be the most important one? Now, obviously, if we're going to say know, like, and trust, the first thing that comes to mind should be trust, right? As the most important element, we are asking ourselves constantly, can I trust this person? Can I trust this company? Can I trust this agency? Can I trust this service provider? Can I trust the brand? Right? And that is how the transaction happens. But the reality is, when someone is considering to do business with you and some of your competitors, they might trust you all the same. And if that is the case, if the bar of trust is equal across the board, then the second thing that they're going to rely back on is, well, I trust them, but who do I like? Right? And you'd probably be in that situation where you're like, should I go with these guys or these guys or these guys? And you trust them all. They've all like 5-star reviews. They all kind of meet the bill. Great reviews, great feedback and all that. But when it comes down to making that decision, if you had to choose between three people you trusted, you're going to go with the person that you like the most. In fact, this is what I call resonance. And I believe in today's social media world, particularly, that we transact with people that we resonate with, right? And you've probably been in that situation where maybe you've been in a conference or a seminar, the guy or the gal's talking at the top, and they're saying all the right words, and they're pushing all the right buttons, and they're using their NLP magic and whatever else these guys do to try to sell you stuff. And in the midst of that, you just don't feel like you connect with that person. And so when they make the pitch, you're like, no thanks, I'll pass. And then you have another guy or gal get up there for totally something completely different, right? And they go through their whole shtick, and their PowerPoint stops working, and they misspelt something, and like the whole thing is falling apart, right? It's in shambles. But when they get to the offer, they like kind of do their thing, and then you're like, you know what? I'm in, I buy, I like that person. So here's the reality in today's world, right? In today's social media world, if you're a business owner and you are putting out content, content is no longer king. It used to be, content is no longer king. Content is abundant, right? It is a commodity that everybody is throwing out there. So the question then is how through our content, or more specifically in the context of what I'm talking about today, through our ads, can we create the most important thing, I believe, and that is content is no longer king. I believe resonance is king, right? How well does your ideal prospect resonate with you in order for them to say, I know, like, and I trust them, and I want to create a transaction with them, right? Now, before we continue, again, if you like this kind of stuff, if you want me to show you ways where we can look at your business and dissect the areas that have the most amount of opportunity that you were probably overlooking, right? Just because you're so involved in your business, and you want me to have that want me to do that for you, simply go to workwithnick.com, workwithnic.com, fill out a brief form there. We'll hop on a call, and I'll see see how I can help take your business to an even greater level. So let's get to this. I have found that a languaging pattern, and you don't have to use this exactly as it said, but there's a very simple languaging pattern and in your ads. Now you can apply this to whatever you need, but I'm talking about it particularly from the perspective of ads, okay? Now, in your ads, we all know from one of my previous trainings that the way to start an ad is typically with a question, right? You ask a yes-based question, but then what do you do after that? After you ask that yes-based question, I have found that the next most important thing to do in your ads is to build rapport, aka bonding. Right? Because we're on a social platform here, right? Nobody wakes up in the morning, logs on to Facebook and wonders, what can I buy today? They're looking to engage and socialize and connect with people that they feel akin to. And so one of the important things that we have to do in our ads is create bonding. And I found that the easiest way to do that is through a languaging pattern or a semantic kind of sequence that I call feel, felt, found. Okay? Feel, felt, found. In other words, in 1, 2, maybe 3 lines, can you present this idea? And this is how people bond with this, right? I've heard it once say that a great message is not when your ideal prospect understands you. A great message is when your ideal prospect feels understood by you. When that person is literally leaning in and nodding and saying, that person gets me. That person knows how I feel. In fact, so our languaging pattern in the ads during this 1 or 2 kind of like sentences or paragraphs here should start by saying, look, I know how you feel. Now, you don't actually have to say these words exactly, or you could, but the point is, through your languaging, can you depict this idea that, hey, look, wherever you're at right now in your situation, I know how you feel because I have felt the same way too, right? I know how you feel. I felt the same way too. So maybe I was talking about this in my context of helping people with their Facebook ads and their business. And I was going to present a lead magnet that helped people write better ads. I could say, hey, I remember the first time sitting at my computer, looking at the ads manager and that cursor in the text box literally taunting me saying, hey, write your best ad. Let's see what you got, right? And I remember being frustrated, not knowing how to write and thinking, if I write it, will it convert? And what if it doesn't make sense? And I don't have a frequency or a flow in which to approach this. Hey, look, I know how you feel. I felt in the same way too. I've been there and done that. Right? One of the people who came to one of our Art of Lead Generation implementation intensives was an estate attorney. And when I got to the heart of it, I said, why are you helping people with their wills and their estates? What caused that transition to happen? He told me it was because when his mother died, they were buried in legal things and probate and all this stuff. And it was the hardest time of their life, not just because she just passed, but because this was the beginning of months and months and even years of having to flush through the legalities of not having a will and all that in place. And it was an absolute nightmare. So his actual statement in his ad went something like this. I remember the night when Mom passed away. We were all gathered around there in the hospital room, and it was the most devastating experience. She'd been with us for years, but little did I know that this would only be the beginning of massive amounts of heartache because we didn't have a will. This meant months and months and thousands of dollars in legal fees trying to ensure that the government and other people didn't take her belongings and it went to those who rightfully earned it. Right? Now think about that. If you were the ideal prospect and you're sitting there, and his ideal prospect is obviously those who are aging or the children of those who are aging and ailing to ensure that they have a will in place, if you heard that, they'd be like, man, I do know how you feel, right? Or he does know how I feel. He has felt the same way too. So when you're doing this in your ads, you want to be thinking about how can you relate your personal story, your hero's narrative, your hero's journey narrative to the ideal prospect. And maybe you yourself haven't gone through that thing, but maybe you can highlight a prospect of yours or a client of yours and saying, hey, maybe you're going through this. I want to tell you about Sally. When I first met Sally and she came into our office, she was experiencing blank. Right? And this is a perfect setup because if you can, in your words, create bonding, that likability by people leaning in and saying, this guy or gal gets me, right? I feel connected on some level because they're not just trying to sell me something, they've been there and done that. So you use the words, I know how you feel, I felt the same way too. Again, you don't have to use those words exactly, but that's the sentiment that you're trying to come across. And then the perfect way to transition into the offer is until I found. So in this case, maybe I'm talking about my ads, right? I can say, hey, look, I was sitting in front of the computer. I didn't know what to write. I was completely frustrated. I didn't have a way where I can consistently craft ads and know that they would convert for me. Look, I know how you feel. I felt the same way too. I was promised millions if I just wrote great Facebook ads. The problem was every time I hit publish, they never ended up working. Until I found that there's a simple 10-step ad writing formula that when you deploy it every single time, it may not work 1,000% of the time, but you have a formula that you can use that ensures that you're not donating to Facebook philanthropy, that ensures that when you write an ad, you have the best possibility of it winning for you and you actually getting an ROI rather than you losing all your money. I found that this is a 10-stage ad strategy. We'd spent millions of dollars and countless of years figuring this out, and today I want to give that to you. Imagine that. Right? You go from starting with a question to building rapport and bonding. That person says, this person gets me. They know how I feel. And then you lead them to the discovery, which is essentially the offer that you're trying to make at that time. And all of a sudden, now you can have greater impact with your ads. So the next time you write an ad, remember the importance of bonding. And remember that oftentimes bonding can come through a simple 3-framework semantic formula, feel, felt, found, where you're essentially saying, hey, look, I know how you feel. I felt the same way too until I have found this, and today I want to give that to you. So with that being said, look, maybe you're a business owner here today, right? And maybe you're like frustrated and overwhelmed with all of the options on what you have to do to get even better results in your business. You saw a course or attended an event or someone sent this to you and said, man, I got to do this and I got to create videos and content and YouTube and LinkedIn and all this stuff going on. And you feel a little bit overwhelmed and frustrated with the options. And so rather than making forward progress in your business, you feel like you're a little bit stuck. You got good results, but you want even better. Look, watch, I know how you feel, which is true. For the first few years of my business, I had 1,000,001 options. I attended every conference. I listened to every podcast. I read every book. And rather than helping it move me forward in my business, it actually set me back because I had all this stuff going on and not any decisions to move things forward with, right? Look, I do know how you feel. I felt the same way too, but what I've discovered is that if you can focus on one key leverage point every 30 to 90 days, one key domino effect, right? That if you hit that lead domino, it spills over into all the other dominoes and has massive impact on your business. I found that if you can dig out and find under-leveraged, underutilized assets, because frankly, sometimes it's not about doing more. It's not about doing something new. It's about finding the areas, the under-leveraged things in your business, finding those things, doubling down on them to see the results that you get. That's what I found for me. And the moment I was able to focus and get those things done, the moment my business took off. And look, if you want somebody who can find that for you, what I've discovered, it's not all that difficult, but oftentimes it does require outside set of eyes to look at the situation because you're so busy and in it and on it that you can't think about it from a higher level perspective. So if you want me to do that for you, that's kind of like my superpower. I can look into your business, identify areas of opportunity, simple things that can really take things off. And by doing that, you can get an even better result. If you'd like me to do that for you, I encourage you to go to workwithnick.com, workwithnic.com. Let me see how I can help you. If I can, I'll invite you to work with me in some way, shape, or form. And if I can, I'll gladly just say, you know what, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do for you, but maybe so-and-so can help you, right? If you want that, go to workwithnick.com. I look forward to working with some of you. I look forward to hearing how when you apply this, you get an even better result. And most importantly, implement, apply, and get going, create some bonding, and you'll get some even better results. All the best, and I look forward to seeing you at the next Accelerated Results Training. Talk then.